When you were 5, you actually recorded the Christmas favorite Santa Claus is a Black Man,
I did.
and
I did.
your father actually wrote and produced it. Was that just fun as well, or did you realize how seminal that would be?
Okay, well, first of all, that wasn't fun. We were in the studio. We did it so quickly. My father turned that project around in, I want to say like 2 weeks. I just did it because he was like, oh, you have to do this. I mean, I guess it was fun, but I was like a little bit of a brat also. So I remember like fighting him about it.
Hey, it's your girl Nancy Wren, and this is season 4 of Mompreneurs, where we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are also amazing moms. Now, every week I'm chatting with my guests about how they are killing it simultaneously as a business mogul and a mom. We're listening to their inspiring journeys and incredible advice. Now, nearly a decade ago, my next mompreneur, who is a mother of 4, had a craving for something sweet. An entire business focused on sweet things, actually based in her beloved Brooklyn, where her fabulous family has resided for 3 generations. She was born to brilliant people, a Chinese math educator mom and a Grammy-winning father who we know as Teddy Vann. Akim Vann is the owner of the bakery on Bergen, and she's also so much more. She's a math whiz who uses her bakery as a tutoring hub. As I said, she's a mother of 4 kids, all of whom have modeled for Wilhelmina, and she was a child star herself. So we have a lot to talk about. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You have lived quite a storied life, and I'm really excited to talk to you about all of the businesses, all of the ways that you have figured out how to make money and an incredible life for yourself and your family. But before we get too far in the business side of things, I always ask, who in the life puts the mom in your mompreneur? Who are your children? Who's in your household?
Well, not really in my household. Well, kind of in my household. Getting ready to leave. I have my youngest daughter, Kara, and then there is Kai and Chi and Shuma. So I have 4 children.
Wow, and they're all you're almost an empty nester. Your baby is going to college, right?
Yeah, so my daughter is leaving for college at the end of the month. I do have a 2-family home, so I'm not an empty nester in the traditional sense because 2 of my sons are still in my household.
Well, actually, I want to talk to you about that a little bit later because that is a very common thing today, and I think we need to normalize it. I was actually just talking to my older brother about the best thing that ever happened to us was when we were at home and as young adults plotting our next moves, because if there's anything an entrepreneur knows, it's keep your expenses low.
Right, for sure. Well, also, I have a 2-family home, so it's again like a little bit, I guess maybe the best of both worlds, or maybe the worst.
Well, when we look at motherhood and entrepreneurship, which comes first for you? Were you a mother first or an entrepreneur first?
I was an entrepreneur first. So I had my children in my 20s, and so prior to that, I mean, I've been working since I was 3 years old. I have one of my best friends. She like cringes when I say that because I don't know, maybe I say it a lot. That's going to be my hashtag. I have been working since I was 3 years old. And so I think from a very early age, I understood maybe the power that one would have in dictating how they work. And so I started tutoring really young. So I started tutoring when I was in the 7th grade. And instead of, I did some babysitting, but I think my thing was tutoring. That's how I made my cash. And that was a form of entrepreneurship.
I think that's so interesting. Why does your friend, when we look at working since you're 3 years old, your friend gets frustrated by that. But I think it's really important to acknowledge that that's something that not everybody can say they have done. You know, like you talk to us about the beginning of your work. What was the very first thing that you remember doing?
Well, I was on Sesame Street. So I was on Sesame Street as a child, and then did some small things in the entertainment industry. And so I think she it's more of a funny thing because maybe I say it a lot in front of her, But so I think at 3 years old, it was not work in the traditional sense. It was just something that I got paid to do, but I had fun doing it. I think I realized how long I've been working when I got like a notification from Social Security, like a long time ago. And it like tracks like when you started, you have earnings. And I was like, oh my God, like my earnings started like a really long time ago. So I just thought it was funny. Now I say it a lot.
Well, it's interesting too, because you're definitely not thinking about your retirement when you're 3 years old. There's all of this information out there right now. You know, my children are actors, so I totally get it. That's why I'm just like, I totally understand. Right. And I love the fact that they have a pension already, and they haven't even graduated high school. Right. However, there is a lot of controversy right now with when you look at child stars and what happens and whether it's worth it, especially with social media kids. What is your advice to parents who are nervous about entering this world with their families potentially? Would you suggest it? Do you think it's a good thing, or are there things that you need to take under consideration?
I mean, certainly things have changed since when I did it versus, I was no child star. I think my parents kept it really fun. I didn't even realize it was work initially, especially because Sesame Street is just, that's in its own category and box. And I did some other things also, like did an album with my father. My brothers and sisters modeled, and we did some acting. But I think the most important thing, I think something that would transcend the periods of time and what is occurring in that time. Like, so for example, now we have social media. I think something that would be constant would be that it would have to be from the child and not where the parent is living vicariously through that child. I think that is a big no-no. I think as long as the child is not being forced, and as long as the child is still able to be a child, because it gets very tricky. Again, we live in a day and age where everyone is trying to get attention. Everyone's trying to go viral. Everyone is trying to be a star. The average Joe can become a star now. And so it gets kind of tricky. So I would treat it where the children are still allowed to be children.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I love that who doesn't want to be on Sesame Street? That's not work. That is just an amazing opportunity. And, I love all of the things in your storied past. It's incredible when you think about when you were 5, you actually recorded the Christmas favorite, Santa Claus is a Black Man. And I did. Your father actually wrote and produced it. And did you realize at that time, was that just fun as well? Or did you realize how seminal that would be?
Okay, well, first of all, that wasn't fun. When I think back to it, I was like, we were in the studio, we did it so quickly. My father turned that project around in, I don't know, I want to say like 2 weeks. It felt like I was just there. I just did it because he was like, oh, you have to do this. And so I don't really, I guess it was fun, but I was like a little bit of a brat also. So I remember like fighting him about it.
So that was not a fun thing, but
no,
that was,
again, from a brat perspective. Do you know what I mean? Like from that, like, pouting and like, I don't want to, I think I must have had to want to do it because I was a very stubborn child. So I really didn't do anything that I didn't want to do. I have another story. Like they wanted me to go to California for Sesame Street to do the Sesame Street intro. And I didn't do it. I didn't want to do it. So I didn't go.
I love it. You know what? But you always know what it is you want to do, what it is you're going to do. How did that, out of curiosity, then all of your children ended up also working. Were you as open with them? Did you understand more having been, quote unquote, I bet you weren't a brat. I think you're being hard on yourself. You were
I was a brat. I was definitely a brat.
How did you translate that for your children? And how did they end up getting involved in the industry themselves? Was that just something that...
Yeah, with the modeling industry, it was because I knew about it and it was like something that they could do. And so I did it when they wanted to do it, and when they didn't want to do it anymore, I stopped.
So you're a great role model in terms of knowing what it's like to be a child person in the industry, what it's like to have a kid in the industry, and when to know when to hold and when to fold them.
Yeah, because it just shouldn't be stressful for the child. It can be stressful, like those, especially when they're babies. because it's all about the temperament of the child, and it does get a little, you get a little anxious. But when it doesn't, it's not fun anymore. It's time to go. Or when when baseball is more important, or whatever it is that they're into.
Oh, I totally understand. My son is missing some stuff right now because he wanted to go to Red Cross Leadership Camp. And I was like, you know what? I am so excited that you want to go and learn CPR. That is probably going to be more valuable in your life than, being on set for a day.
Right.
So I think that's great. And I also think what's great about you is you said from an early age, you have known what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And one thing that I love about your current mompreneurship as it stands is you knew you wanted to start a bakery. And that was back before everybody was starting a bakery for the gram, because it feels like there's so many
I know, everyone's a baker.
Yeah,
I mean, I did have partners, and I didn't, like, people say to me, did you grow up wanting to be wanting to bake and own a bakery? I did not grow up wanting to own a bakery. I did grow up wanting to work for myself. I did, when I became a mom, I did want to have a space for people. I'm in the business of community. I don't say like I own a bakery, but that's not my business. My business is community. So I did know that I wanted to have some place for people to gather and feel comfortable and be able to meet one another. And so why not do that around food? Because food brings people together.
I love that. And, we all have these types of ideas mulling around our head and trying to figure out when is the right time. You actually opened the bakery on Bergen on your birthday as a present to yourself, right?
That sounds nice. It's just the timing of it all worked out. You know what I mean? It's when you're a mom, it's all about professional juggling. And so the degree to which you can combine events is to your favor. So it may have been a little bit more of that, honestly. You know what I mean? Like my birthday, we're opening a business. Let's just do it. We don't have to do it 2 times. It's what can we do simultaneously? I think it's more of that. And it brings people out if for one occasion. You don't have to come out for your birthday and then come out for the opening of the business. It's just people are busy. We have things to do. And so it was more of that, I think.
People are busy and they have things to do, and one of the things they make time to do is visit your bakery. Your bakery has been in business for almost 10 years at this point?
11 years now. 11.
That's a wild. Okay, so
yeah.
This is what. And how often do businesses last more than 1 or 2 years? Not very.
Not very. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
What do you attribute your success to? Why do you think that the bakery on Bergen has been in business for over a decade?
I think through the grace of God, I think I've been able to roll with the proverbial punches that life has thrown at me. And so in each step of the way, even though I've had things that have happened in my life which are discouraging and which are would make you want to throw in the towel, I've also had a lot of fortune. And so it's the fortune in my life that tells me you're supposed to be here and keep going. And so, for example, when my husband passed away, not too soon after that, I got a makeover by a major television show. And so that show, which was on Bravo Television, it was the guys that did Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. And it saved my business at that point in time. And then I just got a lot of, I have had a lot of fortune in my business. I think that outweighs any of the pitfalls or any of the challenges that I've come across.
I think it's good to recognize, and it's also very humble of you, because fortune without hard work and savvy does not lend into continued success. And I think that you're an inspiration because you have these difficult things and you are not afraid to try different avenues, right? You take chances and you take risks and you reap the rewards from it. After going on the show and your business, being revitalized, what do you think? What did you take from that experience of going on, getting a makeover, and seeing how it didn't just help you personally, but professionally?
Well, I think in life, we always have the ability or the opportunity to make things over, right? I think every day is a fresh start. I'm not somebody who has ever been like, I'm going to wait till Monday. I'm going to wait to the top of the year. I think at any point in your life where you decide I want to make a change, and change is difficult. I'm not saying, that you can just decide one day to be different, although there are some certain things you can decide to be different with in a day if you continue to be different with that. But I think that it's just important to understand that you're not stuck. And particularly Black women, particularly women of color, because we don't live in a world that's made for us, we live in a white man's world. We are used to things not being built for us, so to speak. And so our flexibility is almost built in. I mean, that's the good side of being flexible, because we know we have to do things a little bit differently. We know we have to open doors for ourselves. We know that we have to we could be encountering some things that other people are not encountering. So I think flexibility is key.
And you show that because, like you said, you're not just in the bakery business, you're in the community business. Like, you built this not just for yourself, but for your community. And the same little girl who's been tutoring since, what'd you say, were you 7 or 7th grade?
I was
when
7.
You started tutoring?
7th grade.
Yeah. That's so sweet. And so that is something that you've carried on since then. And you're still tutoring today in your bakery, right?
I do. It's my superpower. That's, if I were to pinpoint one thing that is my superpower, it's teaching. It's absolutely teaching. That is a gift that I have. So I am definitely able to teach.
Talk to us about how that incorporates in the bakery. How do you incorporate tutoring? And also, for anyone listening in the Brooklyn area, how can they get in on the tutoring at bakery?
Well, I do a math and baking class, but I do it for small groups, and you have to get the group together. So if you have a group of students, and it can be any number of students, not any number of students, but it can be up to, depending on the age, it can be up to maybe 15 students. I can do math and baking together, teaching math through baking. So there are lots of fractions and proportions, there's geometry. I mean, math isn't anything. I can make a class with math and anything, basically. So that is how I've wed the two. When I first start working with a student, I get the math confession of the student, and I get the math confession of the parent or caretaker. And everyone wants to tell me their life story with regard to math. But I let people know that if you excel at doing anything, you're actually a mathematician, because math is about patterns and shortcuts.
And it's so nice to see someone like you. How important is it in your community for you to be teaching these math and baking classes, for you to say, if you excel at anything, you're a mathematician? Because our community needs role models like you.
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't think I look like a mathematician, but I think if you were to close your eyes and ask anyone to envision a person that's a mathematician, I'm not going to come up, And so that is also, I think, the reason why I do really well with regard to teaching math. I think I'm relatable to students. I think there's one thing to know math. I think there's another thing to teach math. Most mathematicians who teach math are not teachers, they're mathematicians. But because there's a shortage of math experts in this country, we have these people teaching who are really not teachers. They know the math. But teaching is a specific skill. And part of teaching is relatability, and also really believing that your student can excel.
So many times we're nervous about math. We're nervous about taking this on, and we are underrepresented in a lot of STEM careers. We don't necessarily always take on math. We got the Barbie. Math is hard.
Yeah.
What is your advice to parents who are listening to this, who want their kids to be more math, to be more STEM, to be more STEAM oriented?
Gotta get a tutor, unfortunately. I mean, I feel like we're not doing a good job in the school system, but if you can't get a tutor, then I do believe in lots of different games that you can play. They're like logic games, or just, I call them push up for the brain. I'm a big proponent of the game 24. I also like Ken puzzles, which is those are a Japanese puzzle, which is like the math version of like Sudoku. That game Sudoku, I'm not pronouncing it correctly. I would just encourage parents to let their child see that what they do excel at doing is actually math. I just, I'm a yogi. I actually got certified to teach yoga a couple of years ago. And even in my yoga class, it's like, they're angles, you want to do a 90-degree angle with your leg when you're doing warrior 2. The math is in everything. And so I would just encourage parents to see how math relates to something they love, something that their child loves.
And showing this and being there and being present and doing all these things, like you said, it's not just a bakery, it's a community place.
Yes.
You've been celebrated. Yes. And you're very humble. You're like, I am fortunate, things happen to me, but you're making this happen. But yet you're still very surprised when people want to celebrate you. I think that one of the most fun aspects of the little nuggets of surprise in your journey, right, are when people not recognize you. Like a few years ago, Keith Lee actually surprised you on Good Morning America with a $10,000 check for the good work that you have done in the community, for having a bakery, for being a tutor. And you looked genuinely surprised when this happened.
Yes, I could not believe that. I was so honored, and that was just beautiful, right? And it was good for business, and I don't know, it was like very surreal. Very surreal. We had people that were coming. We had a guy that took a red eye from Utah to pick up his wife, worked for JetBlue. He came on a red eye. He got a dozen chocolate chip cookies with smoked sea salt, and he got back on the plane. People were like calling. It was really cool.
That's so wonderful. Yeah. And when you look at all of this support, how does that keep you going? Because it's not easy running a business. It's definitely not easy running a business with a storefront in Brooklyn, because it's not cheap.
It is challenging. Like, this business up and down, businesses are struggling right now. And so support has to be intentional. Also, I mean, I always say everyone has a birthday, so come and get your birthday cake here, right? When you think of the bakery on Bergen, when you have a birthday or a celebration, I think it's just important that support is helpful for business, especially because where I am I'm not in a location that's a highly populated location. So for me to still be here 11 years later, I'm very appreciative of people that go out of their way to come here and out of their way to think of me when they have a celebration.
Yes. And also just, you have put in the work, you make the suggestions, you have the outlets, you get the publicity, you do the things. You're on this podcast, for example, you're very busy. Yes. And nothing is a guarantee. Like, businesses are hard, but as you know, right now, unemployment amongst Black women has spiked to around 6%. And that's really troubling. And this podcast is in its 4th season because we've always at Madame Noir understood the importance of entrepreneurship and having something for yourself. And in this moment where a lot of women who might look at you and say, oh, I could never do that, or I'd like to do that, but I'm afraid, but they're being pushed out of the workforce, and entrepreneurship is becoming not just like a path, but a necessity. What advice do you have for Black moms who want to break out of a 9-to-5, or have been broken out of the 9-to-5, unfortunately, to build something of their own, like this wonderful bakery that you have built over the past decade?
Yes. I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with a traditional 9-to-5 job. I think that also at a certain point, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, I think you should do both. It's risk taking, but it's calculated risk taking. There's a range when we talk about risk. People like to throw around that word risk with regard to entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurs are very calculated in their risk taking. And so, again, as moms, we know we can juggle. And so you may be able to while you have that job or that part-time job, dabble in something that you think that you're good at doing. But I also think that everyone's not an entrepreneur. So, you know what I mean? I think sometimes it's sort of, you're kind of built for that, and sometimes you're not.
You are spot on. Most of us, myself included, have a 9-to-5 and a hustle.
Yeah.
However, it's just that the 9-to-5, especially at a certain age, oftentimes you get it's very difficult to get back into the world.
Right.
What do you think people can look at and say, you know what? That's an entrepreneur. What does your spidey sense tell you about people if they're trying to figure out, do I have it in me or not?
I think you know if you have it in you, but if you don't have it in you and you want to have it in you, then you need to practice the steps, right? That's like, everything is a practice in this life, right? And you practice things that you're not necessarily good at to begin with. And then, I think then you become good at doing that. But if you have a passion, if you have a passion for something, that's the first step. And sometimes you may not know what your passion is. And so in order to find out your passion, you have to expose yourself to different things. And so that would be, reading or doing a class or expanding the circle of people that you're around, or traveling. And traveling could, people say, oh, I don't have the money to travel. Traveling could mean going to the next state, right? If you live in the United States of America, we have all these states here. And there are different cultures. There are different cultures in every state. There are different cultures in every city. Some people don't go out of their cities. And so there are ways to surround yourself with things that are not in your box, in your proverbial box.
I love that, and also one thing too, like you said, if you're trying different things, if you're going to different places, if you're experiencing different things, you never know how that'll inspire you. Like, for example, with yoga, in your case, are you now you're certified? Do you teach yoga as well now?
I teach sometimes. Yes, I teach a community class sometimes. Yes.
I love that. And how did that come about? Like, when did yoga enter your life?
Well, yoga entered my life probably about 20 years ago. I had a wonderful friend who introduced me to yoga. I would have never done yoga if it weren't for her. She's a fabulous instructor. And she owns a spot called Urban Asanas in Brooklyn, and amazing yoga instructor. And again, would have never done yoga if it weren't for her. And I had been doing it for a while and really got into it. Like, I love yoga. And so at a certain point, my practice plateaued. So the reason why I decided to get my certification was to really up the ante with regard to my yoga practice. And then because I love teaching, I teach occasionally. I love the practice. It keeps me very grounded.
I think that's so cool. And at what point did you say, you know what, I'm going to just go from someone who practices it to someone who's certified to teach?
I decided that like almost 3 years ago. Yeah, it was after the pandemic. It was, I'm like, why can't I do a handstand still after 20 years? Right? I mean, it's like you get used to things. Comfort is, comfortable. And so I was like, I have to step it up. I got to step up my yoga practice. I can't be telling people that I've been practicing for 20 years.
So now you can do a handstand?
I can. But the thing is also, not a handstand, a headstand. But working on the handstand. But again, just like life, yoga, you show up every day. You look differently every day. Some days you have it, some days you don't. But, when I teach class, I say practice makes progress. It does not make perfection. As women, we are taught to try to be perfect, especially nowadays too. It's gotten really crazy with all the plastic surgery and just filters and just nonsense. It's like, we don't practice to be perfect. We practice to have progress, and progress can look different from day to day, because we are different from day to day, depending on what how much we've slept, what we ate, who we've spoken to, and the fact that we're just another day, older that next day. So we look differently every day. So we have to gauge how we are going to practice in life.
You know what? And isn't that exactly what being a mompreneur is? You show up every day. You show up different every day, but you show up every day.
You show up every day, but you need to have the skills, and you need to have the armor, and you need to have the support to be able to navigate what is thrown at you that day.
And a lot of parents and a lot of, caregivers are feeling a little hopeless when it comes to their children. And one of the things that we want to do a little bit more on Mompreneurs is talk about current events and talk about things that are happening. And you're someone who absolutely champions education, right? You are in your bakery, you're teaching math and bakery classes. You've been a tutor since you were in the 7th grade. You love math. And we are seeing tremendous cuts in funding to HBCUs, Pell Grants, loans. And of course, this is going to affect kids who want to go to college but can't afford it. Now, you are fortunate. You have 4 adult children. You're sending your baby girl off to college this year. Do you have any thoughts or advice on what parents and caregivers can do to prepare their families for this new time where college is more complicated than it's been before?
Well, I don't know if I'm the best person about that, honestly, because I actually have a GoFundMe for my daughter for her college, because it's been none of my children have graduated from college. My daughter will be the one that graduates. My sons.
Oh, this is very important. Actually, I think this is great advice. You have a GoFundMe. You acknowledge you are trying to get this girl off of the ground. We will link to this GoFundMe in this interview.
Oh, thank you. My girl needs to go to college. This may sound funny. I don't think everyone needs to go to college nowadays. It's different from when I went to college. When I went to college, I feel like everyone needed to go to college. Okay. There are so many things you can do now without a college degree. I'm not giving parents advice not to tell your child to go to college. It's definitely, it's a good plan to have. I was not able to have my children complete college because my husband passed away. He did not have life insurance. I had to pull my children from college. My eldest son, he was in his 2nd year, so he only did 2 years of NYU. My second son, Chiose, is in his 3rd term as city councilman, a city council person in Brooklyn, and he was the youngest to win a city council seat. And that would not have happened had he not been pulled out from college. So that's the silver lining. There's always also a silver lining. And so not everybody needs to go to college, but the reason why you're not going to college should not be because of lack of funds. You know what I mean? And so it's a new day now, because we got no financial aid, And so I was like, oh my God, for my daughter. And I was like, what am I going to do? She needs to go to college.
Which is wild. It's wild that's the thing with the lack of grants, the lack of availability. You are a successful business person with an upstanding family, and still it's out of reach.
It's out of reach in that particular context. And then you do what you need to do in order to make it happen.
I think one of the great things about you, Akim, is you are so keyed in as a community member. A lot of us talk about we're so separate. We're in our own little houses. We've got our own little struggles. We don't help. We don't ask for help. You're just like, I'm going to help my community and I'm going to ask for help. What advice do you have for other people who really need to be doing the same thing? Like this is how we survive for generations, for millennia as Black people, by tapping into the community.
I mean, we do need to do that. I hate to do these things, but no man or woman is an island, right? I know it's sometimes those things. We have to work interdependently, right? I think that's the correct term. And so there was a book that I read, I don't remember the book, but it talked about kind of like the cycle that you go through in life. And when you are first born, you're completely dependent, right? You need your mom to eat, you can't walk, you can't talk. And part of growing is acquiring independence. And so now I can eat, and now I can talk, and now I can walk. But the highest level of, I think, our humaneness, that which separates us from the 4-legged animals, right, is our ability to be interdependent. Everything we do affects everyone. It just does. I mean, we may not see it, but to the degree to which we can operate in community, it really benefits everyone.
We absolutely do. And we need voices like yours letting us know, what we need. And so when we look at this in the context of being a mompreneur, in the context of you've been an entrepreneur, you've been in business since you were 3 years old, you have done all of these different things. Tell your friend that she needs to stop being a hater.
No, she's not a hater. She just said she's not a hater. She's one of my
joking. No, totally.
But it's just funny.
Well, and also what's interesting too is it's so good to share your story outside because other people around you have heard these things. They know these things. A lot of people don't know. They don't know what it's like to be you. They don't know all of these different things that you've done. And they don't know how you have worked really hard since your husband died to build something for your children and yourself. So with that in context, what does being a mompreneur mean to you?
It means you're crazy. No, what does it mean to me? I don't know. It's just who I am. I don't know if I can articulate and say what it means to me. It's who I am. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm so many different things, right? But I'm just trying to do the best I can with what I got.
You're doing a great job. And before you leave, I can't let you leave without participating in my favorite segment, which I call Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I always ask each of our guests, what are you trying to make happen right now? Like right now, I know you're trying to get your daughter to college. I don't know what else is going on with your business. If you've got another thing that you're doing right now, and how can our audience help bring it into the universe for you?
Yes, I'm thinking about packaging. So I want to package some cake mixes. I want to upscale what I'm doing. I want to, want to make money while I'm sleeping.
You want to not have to come to the bakery. You want the bakery to be in Costco.
Yes. I do want to still come to the bakery, but I want to, some of the visions that I have here, I want to do on a larger scale.
I love
that.
I love that. So who would help you? Who do you think is the ideal person?
Well, Duncan Hines can help me. We were in talks for a little while, but that just, I don't know what happened. Post-pandemic things are very, all over the place. But a major company would be helpful because I have some ideas.
All right. Well, this is very helpful information. And in the interim, everybody has a birthday. And everyone
has a birthday, and everyone knows when it is. Even though people come in here acting like they didn't know. I was like, did you know that was your birthday 3 months ago?
I love that.
I need a last minute cake all the time. Like, did you know that was your birthday? Or is this a new birthday?
Girl, everybody's on the struggle bus.
All the time. But, I try to accommodate my people as much as I can. don't let that get out. I've been known to do last minute orders, but don't let that get out.
Okay, you should start doing robocalls. It is 3 months before your birthday. Order your cake now.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. People don't put their own birthdays on their own calendars.
Well, everyone listening, put your birthday on your calendar and make sure you reach out to Akim. Tell everyone where everyone can find you and order from you.
You can find me at the Bakery on Bergen everywhere. So that's my Instagram, that's my TikTok, that's my website, I think, thebakeryonbergenbk.com. But the best thing to do actually is to shoot me text. I'm reachable. You can text me. You can email me. I have the bakery on Bergen at gmail.com. I heard somebody said that's not cool. I don't care. Whatever.
Okay, so the bakery on Bergen at gmail.com, the bakery on Bergen.com. This is where you can find her. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to another 10 years of not just the bakery,
thank you,
but the bakery items in stores. We're claiming it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we're going to get, we're excited to see you're going to get your girl off to college, and we're claiming graduation.
Yes. Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for listening and watching. Woo-hoo, you are amazing. And everyone, don't forget, a brand new episode goes live every Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban, the number one, podcast.com.